talk about Go in this presentation. All right, first off, the history of Go. So Go was developed in 2007 by Robert Greisimer, Rob Pike, and Ken Thompson, and they all worked for Google, and Google supported them in the creation of Go. Go was actually launched in 2009, and it's an open source programming language, so there's a pretty robust community around it. And it was created mainly because languages like C++ and Java, Google felt was not supporting emerging technologies like multi-core processors and server software. They wanted a fast compilation language with a garbage collector that can automatically and very efficiently manage memory. So Go is used by Google, Meta, and other big tech companies now. Some properties of Go. So Go is a compiled language, meaning that the code is automatically converted to machine code. And what makes Go very unique is that the translation to machine code is very, very fast compared to other languages. And the machine code is very concise. So it's easy and fast to execute. Go is also an imperative language. So some properties of it are like it has sequential execution where order matters. And the main execution order starts in the main.go file. And it also has state, which is a very key component of imperative programming languages. Go is also a strongly and statically typed language, meaning that the type of a variable is determined at compile time, and it's declared by the programmer in the code. Other properties of Go. So Go is also statically typed, meaning that the scope is determined in runtime. And this makes it pretty easy for the programmer to navigate and separate the different scopes of variables within functions. In other words, variables in different functions are completely unrelated versus dynamically scoped languages where you'll have to trace the different runtimes of the actual language to figure out what happens to variables. And as far as storage goes in Go, Go supports storage on the stack, which is automatically cleaned by the garbage collector. But it also supports dynamic memory, which is memory stored on the heap. And that's also automatically cleaned by the garbage collector. But the only difference is that you have to use keywords like new and make, which will make sure the memory is put into the heap.
Okay, so there's a lot of types in Go, which is similar to C++. And in the beginning, Go is a nominal type language, which means that the types have specific names, and you can create a type with the type keyword. And then there's all the normal types like numeric, Boolean, character, strings, with strings being immutable. And you can have structs and dynamically allocated variables. Something unique about Go is that people usually don't use dynamically allocated variables. And then also there's arrays. And something interesting is that if an array is a different length, it is considered a different type.
Yeah, and one other interesting thing about Go's arrays is that they also support dynamic arrays known as slices, and it basically works how a dynamic array is supposed to. It'll have an allocated capacity, and if you reach the capacity, it'll create a new array with an increased capacity. So it'll keep increasing the size of your array. So that's why it's a dynamic array.
Okay, and there's also pointers, which has the same syntax as C with ampersand and pointer. There's also other types like hash tables, which are maps, functions. There's also channels, which connect Go routines, and Go routines, which are simply threads of execution. And then there's, like mentioned before, there is a garbage collector with memory management. There is, the expressions are very similar to Python with no need for type declaration. There's all the controls, normal control statements like if, else, loops, switch case, continue, and return. There is, and with parameter passing, there is pass by reference and pass by value. And then another thing is Golang was developed around concurrent programming, and people describe it as don't communicate by sharing memory, share memory by communicating, because this kind of highlights how it's important to keep to not have race conditions. And with Golang, race conditions are possible. So it's important to make sure that you're writing proper concurrent code. And then other information is style. There it bans unused variables, and then there's automatic style packages. There's tools within Go like build, test, install, and run. Something we found interesting is that Go is very readable like Python, with which has no type declarations and no semicolons. Yet it still has braces, which I found useful. And there's also garbage collection, so we didn't care too much about memory allocation and thinking about if we had memory leaks. And then it is very popular, so we were able to find a lot of help online. And then some obstacles was it's very simple, so it's kind of hard to debug. And then we had to understand the difference between equal and semicolon equals or and colon equals. And then really though, overall, it wasn't that difficult as it is similar to other C type languages, and it does have a lot of information online.